Hello, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. This episode, I just wanted to talk about loneliness, because everyone feels loneliness every now and then. Everyone gets lonely. They feel loneliness. They feel like they have no one to talk to. They feel like no one cares about them. They just feel like they'll never have anyone to talk to. They feel like sometimes you can feel like loneliness will last forever. You feel like you have no one to talk to and you can't figure out what to do and you can't figure out what you should say and the people because like sometimes when you're lonely, it's like you forget your social skills and you don't know what to do, what to say, and you just don't know how you can fix it, because a lot of the time when you're lonely, you're not in the right mindset and you don't know sometimes what you should say to people because, when you're lonely, you're like trying to think of how you can get more friends, but sometimes you're just so lonely, and usually loneliness comes with sadness. So usually the sadness sets in. So, being lonely is even more difficult because the last thing on your mind is like, how should I try to get more friends or how should I express myself? And, that's another thing. A lot of, I've already made an episode about this, about how people don't care, but a lot of the time, people really don't care that you're lonely. People are probably lonely themselves and, like they're going through their own stuff. Maybe they're not lonely, but they're going through their own stuff and they don't want to listen to you complain about being lonely and stuff like that. People don't really care, A lot of people don't care that you're lonely and, they don't have time for you. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about in this episode is that you can't let loneliness destroy you, You have to learn to suffer alone. You have to learn to be alone. And when I say that you need to learn to be alone, I'm not talking about being alone for the rest of your life. Obviously, you're going to find friends or you're going to find people to be around. Loneliness isn't going to last forever, but you have to realize that sometimes you just have to learn to be alone for long periods of time. I'm alone. I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't have any friends where I live. I have, barely anyone but family that I talk to. And, that makes me feel alone more than half the time. But, I've been alone for so long that it doesn't really bother me because I actually enjoy being alone, I realize that all the trouble that comes with having friends and having a social life, it can be troublesome. So, there's always positives to things. And being lonely doesn't always have to be a bad thing, I know like studies have said that being lonely is like more deadly than cigarettes, because it really does an effect on your brain. But, there's going to be times in your life where you do feel lonely. But, I personally don't think that you should let that destroy you inside because, like I said, we're always going to feel lonely, There's always going to feel, there's always going to feel. That's why I love these rants. Like I said, I could kind of mess up, but yeah, it's something that's always going to happen. Like these feelings are something that we feel because they're telling us something's wrong. Like that's one thing people forget. Some of these feelings that we have are trying to tell us that we need to change something, that something's wrong. So, loneliness is something that, like I've said, it affects a lot of people. And I feel like a lot of people don't know, how to deal with it. Like they don't know how to talk about it. Like I said, no one really gives a shit. So I know it can be hard for some people to address their own loneliness because they're like, why does this person care? Like they're not going to care I'm lonely, or they just don't know how to talk about it. They feel vulnerable. So it's hard for them to express themselves, or maybe they have no one to talk to about it. So I know it's a really hard thing to deal with. But like I've said, it's going to be something that you have to get through. You have to push through. You have to get through it. You're not going to be lonely for the rest of your life. There's going to be people that are going to come into your life and they're going to help. Like you have to reach out if it's therapy, if it's, meeting people online and talking to friends online, I don't care what it is. You have to do something. You have to reach out. You have to help yourself. You know, that's something that I've realized is that, for me, online is a big part of my life. So I find people online to talk to and they help me and, they give me someone to talk to. But, I don't need them, like I've said, I'm content with being alone. I don't need anybody online to not make me feel alone. It's more of this entertainment, Like I said, I've been alone for so long that usually when people are lonely for so long, they get used to it, They learn how to deal with it, It's like, when you lose somebody, like, or you lose a pet. Of course it hurts and it doesn't feel good, but over time you learn to live with it. Like, you learn to get by with it. But anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. I really enjoyed making this episode because I definitely think that this is something that a lot of people can relate to because, a lot of us do feel loneliness. So thank you so much for listening again to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.